see it.
All right, good afternoon, everyone. This is the work session for the Salisbury City Council. Today is November the 5th, 2018. First item on our agenda is revisions to Chapter 8.16, Garbage Yard, Waste and Refuse. Ron Airy. Yep. Andy Kitzrow.
You want to sit in there? Okay. Hi, everybody. It's myself and Ms. Glanz over there will be reporting on stuff.
Ron is in some warm place where we all should be, but
He's supposed to do that in mid-January. That's when he's supposed to do that.
hopefully he voted.
So as you can tell, most of this is just rewriting it, clarifying some of the language, really updating it to be more in line with what our practices are and where we want to go. You can see from the documentation exactly what we were modifying, what we're taking out, redlining, and bringing back. But there's not a whole bunch here. One of the things that is important is can warranty. That's something that is new that we were adding. And you can see it's basically saying that there's a warranty period for the can of 5 years, and after 5 years, they would have to replace it at their own expense.
Anybody have any questions?
How are we defining high density?
That's a good question.
So that's just in the memo? Is that in the?
I was looking forward to see if it actually was in if we changed that in any of the definitions where we use the terminology high density. I know we had taken out I think in understanding the way it's been written in the past, high density would probably refer to more of your multi-unit complexes, but I don't know if it's actually listed anywhere, defined anywhere in this section. Mark, I'm not sure if you have any thoughts on that.
Is there, because I don't recall any reference to it in the actual ordinance that I'm looking at right now.
Yeah. The main thing I see it is in
just
line
in the
56
Line 56?
and 57, where that's what references.
Just the whereas clauses?
All right, 56 and 7, the city.
No.
And then it's also in the whereas clause.
That's being
Yeah.
removed.
And then
Yeah,
in
it's
the whereas
just 20
clause.
It's just in the whereas clauses and in the title.
So let's, Hardy, I want to you just want a little bit of clarification on what we're considering high density.
Yes.
Was it in another spot, or was it just in that one that was removed?
Provide the option to provide bulk collection.
Oh, it's up in the whereas.
Again, I think the purpose for high density, I think I'm going to continue with understanding the context here. It was referencing more of our multi-unit complexes, just some of our conversations we've had with our task force of mitigating some of the policies that we want to have. Some of that stuff will be forthcoming to the group, but if we want to create a better definition and revise some of this language, we can, unless there's an issue with that statement just in general. If we were to modify high density, there really is no other definition.
And many of those, well, this was referenced where we used to possibly provide for it, but most of those places have their own contracts, and the city doesn't serve them as far as trash pickup.
There's a lot of them the city is serving.
Well, there's some that they are.
There's a lot the city is serving. So then my question becomes, why don't we want to do bulk pickup if we're providing other services if we're defining multifamily housing units as high density. So, and I guess what we're saying is it's not in the bill, but a person looking to figure out what the people who are passing this law at this time intended, and it then says high density, and then we aren't defining what high density is. Then we begin to open it, and your initial response was multifamily units. I'm not saying they should or they shouldn't, I'm just trying to understand why we wouldn't provide it for them if we're willing to go pick up their trash. And don't we find, I mean, isn't there an expense attached to the collection of bulk trash in communities by the city at this time?
Yes.
Yes, those are expensive labor costs and then tipping fees, of course.
We can, I think we need to get some clarity from Ron when he gets
Yeah,
back
we'll get some clarity for that.
on that.
So if we're using high density as that definition, that is the direction from council is we should, I don't think it specifically notes in here other than in D, where we are removing that, you may have a concern with us just removing that in general. So if we're looking at lines 56 to 62, and that it actually, and the idea of removing that section is to remove bulk collection services in those areas of high density. So if high density is defined as multi-unit complexes, it sounds like you would hesitate to want to remove that.
I would. Unless, you know, I could be provided with a rationale, which I don't know
Okay.
you all are ready to provide today.
Not knowing specifically, but I would think that the issue is that it's hard to regulate, and that's why we have, dumping in multi-unit, because it's easy to hide and get away with it, and not know, well, I called to put my mattress out, but, my neighbor saw I was bringing stuff out too, so, that might be where it's coming from, but we can certainly get some clarity.
Yeah, typically with bulk pickup, you have to call ahead and you have to specify that you are delivering something.
Yeah, I guess the issue with, like at my house, if I say, hey, I'm putting some stuff out, they know exactly the property that it's gonna be at.
It's the address, it's
Whereas
attached to it.
if you're in a Mill Pond Village and, there's, a couple hundred apartments in there and somebody puts it out.
Yeah, I mean, one of the
It
options,
should be,
I guess.
it should be specified
Yeah.
where it's gonna be, and if you have a refuge area, then if you have tenants, it should be specified that they put that wherever the trash containers are, and not just anywhere. So it would be easy to pick up.
yeah, one of the things is we're kind of talking this through right now. We've had at the universities, we've kind of had move out day where you know that there's going to be a lot of bulk items. So it was specified through some sort of schedule. That may be an option instead of it just being anybody call at any time, it being more of a, here's a scheduled time if people who are part of this facility, complex are interested in disposing of bulk items. It could be quarterly, I don't know, I'm just throwing some ideas out there. We could, instead of striking it from it, we could come up with more of a reasonable idea. Councilman Ireton, we're just talking about, you good? Okay.
I just finally was able to get the code up on my computer, because this is not the whole thing. You've got to kind of look at the big picture here, but basically, as I understand it, the section that's been removed was a section that basically authorized the superintendent to enter into these, bulk collection. He could contract with somebody, I guess, to do that. That's what it appears to me. That he could contract with someone to do bulk collection in an area. If you had like a densely populated area, you could put a central place for people to dispose of their trash. I think that's what it was intended, and he knows better than I, but he apparently, when he put this proposal forward, wanted to strike that section. And now there's people who have, if you look at what has changed, it indicates that if someone is generating a lot of waste, that you can require that individual unit to get more than one can. And maybe that's the plan at this point. I don't know. I'm not, it's a policy thing. I think we need to hear what his reasoning was, but.
Well, maybe we should table this until he comes back, and then we can have a conversation with his thoughts
More clarity
on this. Yeah.
on that.
Yeah, we'll get a definition of high density. High density is what we're thinking about as these multi-units. We can also talk about some other options.
Okay, all right.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Any other questions regarding the other areas of the, like with the can warranty or just some of the
I like,
additional changes in recycling?
I like the can warranty idea. I think that's a good thing. Everything else I was okay with, but I think just on that one section, I think we want some more clarity and maybe have a conversation with him and get some feedback from him.
I'm curious about section, if we look at 816-100 sub C, that's line 118 to 122. The managing authority of any residential dwelling unit located in the multifamily sector shall allow its residents to participate in the city's recycling program. That term shall, is that an imperative? Or is it creating an option for people that live in multifamily units to make use of city recycling collection?
The use of the word shall is requiring that the management authority allow its residents to participate, so that they can't just say, well, that's a big hassle, so we're not gonna do recycling. I don't think it's mandatory that residents participate, it's mandatory that their managing authority allow them to participate and make some provision for it. That was the intent, I believe.
Because my concern becomes if I'm a multifamily unit and I'm not using the city services in the first place, then the city recycling has no reason to come through my community. And when I came to the city and I built this facility, I came before the city with my trash removal plan, and if that wasn't a component of it, for there now to be a law placed upon me for me to have to precipitously allow my residents to engage, and I'm pro-recycling. I'm just saying,
You're a lawyer.
I think Mark, correct me if I'm wrong, that's already in the code.
Yeah, we're
We're not
only,
adding that.
this is already in the code in substance.
Uh-huh.
These are just changes that were made because of the recycling coordinator is now being designated as Sanitation Superintendent.
Uh-huh.
So we're not, this section isn't changing the law, but it's, we're just making a few changes in what's already there to conform with the current setup.
so then am I to understand that at this time, people that live in multifamily units are allowed to engage in the city recycling program, and that they're managing, the company managing these properties can't disallow them from doing that?
Correct.
Exactly. You're saying you can't stop your residents from participating.
And I'm pretty sure we had I don't know how long ago it was, but everybody did have access to it.
Mhm.
Yeah, we do. I know we do, but it's in one confined place. One confined place is where it is, where we do our recycling.
If you
Where
have a
recycling
private
bins are.
company and you choose not to recycle with them, or we do not go and pick up your recycling. You have to, if you're on your own, you're on your own. So there's no way to bill for that at the moment.
I guess I don't have any more questions.
So we'll table this until he comes back.
So Kim, if you want to make a note, we'll bring this back. Good, thank you.
Thank you, sir. Chief?
How's everyone this afternoon?
Fine.
Doing good. How was your weekend?
It was long, to say the least. But it was good. It was good for my daughter, so.
Good.
Here tonight to talk about the FY18 Port Security Grant Award. We've been notified by the Department of Homeland Security that we were a recipient of the FY18 Port Security Grant for a total project cost of $56,769. With that, $42,577 is the federal government share, and the remaining $14,192 is what our match is. The two volunteer corporations, fire departments, have agreed to fund that 100%. So.
Any questions for the? Did everybody see the email from this weekend?
I did.
So, I appreciate you
question.
responding to that, so.
I have plenty of time on a bus to type away.
I certainly support this and I'd like to see the interdepartment working together on that between you and the police department. I think it's a good thing.
Yeah, as you asked in your email, there are on multiple occasions that when there's an event, especially dealing with the waterways, both the fire department and the police department are on the scene. It's either from evidence collection where they need our assistance to, say a car overboard or something like that. Well, it's easier to use some of this equipment before we put divers in the water, and also for their safety to see what the topography is under the water, so.
Absolutely.
I was notified by Debbie Stam that there was a mistake that was made in the accounts, the program account which is on the ordinance, and we'll take care of fixing that. But she picked up on a mistake, so.
Okay. Awesome. All right. We have consensus to move this forward?
Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Pollock? How are you doing?
Great. Good afternoon. I wanted to introduce, for those of you who don't know, this is Will White. He's our transportation project specialist. So the first item that I have to present is an ordinance to remove 2 parking spaces on Waverly Drive. And this would be to facilitate a cycle track. So Waverly Drive has bicycle facilities in the form of sharrows. It was one of the first bike routes that we did back in 2012, and we had approved via ordinance to create a bike route there. As you know, the city's adopted the bicycle master plan, and that was calling for a safer way to have bicyclists ride on Waverly Drive. So what we're proposing is a cycle track, which is a 2-way separated bicycle lane for bike traffic only. So it would be a lane all to itself for 2-way bike traffic, and then there would be the travel lanes and the center turn lane. So we're really narrowing the street, we're narrowing all the travel lanes to facilitate having this at grade on the street. So in order to construct this, we'd like to remove the 2 on-street parking spaces on Waverly Drive, which are near the intersection with South Boulevard. That's the only on-street parking on the entire street, are those 2 spaces. Yes. Well, and so Will has gone and spoken to the adjacent residents, and they indicate that they do not use the spaces. So we got a lot of history about why they were there and when they were installed. And back when they were first installed, there were some concerns about sight lines. So if there's issues with sight lines, with vegetation, we can take care of that in another way. But we did get consensus from those residents that they're not using them.
Okay. I have no problem with it. We have consensus to move forward?
All right.
Pretty good.
Okay.
To see if they're recycling.
Or what they're recycling.
All right, my next item is a capacity fee waiver for 132 East Main Street, and the applicant is here. If there's any question, Nick Simpson's here. So this is for the redevelopment of 132 East Main Street, which is where there will be a conversion into a commercial retail space on the first floor and then residential apartments on the upper floors, including extending the height of the building. So we have looked at the EDUs required for this development, and there would be a need for 25.66 EDUs, which seems incredibly precise, so I did want to explain that a little bit. Whenever there's a property that's redeveloping, we give them a credit for what EDUs they're using now. So they get a capacity fee credit. And their credit is 1.38 EDUs. We had calculated based on the square footage of the retail and the residential use that the total need was 27.04. So the waiver request is for the difference, which is 25.66 EDUs. So this property is in the EDU free zone. And so as you recall, we had originally allocated 300 EDUs to a specific zone for development and redevelopment. This property is in that zone and does comply with all the requirements. It is not an affordable housing project. It's in the central business zoning district, and it meets all the other criteria. So far to date, of the 300 EDUs, we've allocated 83.8. So we have 216.2 available. With this request of 25.66, if this is approved, we would still have 190.54 remaining in this district, And as you all recall, we very recently extended this incentive area for another 5 years, so it goes until September of 2023. But that still gives us a significant amount available. And I did want to mention, at our current capacity fee rate of $3,533 per EDU, this waiver request is $90,656.78.
Questions? And just to clarify, we're not giving them $90,000.
Yes, thank you. We are not. Yes, this was, and thanks for bringing that up. So this was reallocated EDUs from the Linens of the Week property. There was a business in town using 300 EDUs. They are no longer, so the city is now reallocating those EDUs. So you're exactly right. We're not writing a check for this amount.
I lived through that.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for your service, Mr. Ireton.
All right, very good. Thank
We
you.
have consensus?
Okay, great, thank you.
2 for 2.
I have one more. All right, the last item is an ordinance to rename a section of North Division Street, and Will's back with me here for help. As you recall, when we made changes to North Division Street near the War Memorial, and we closed a section of North Division Street, we sort of orphaned a little piece of the road, and it's left on its own. And we had received a request from the Knox family saying that they have a lot of confusion from their customers at the insurance company on how to get there, and where is this address? And I guess people are probably coming downtown and looking at Division Street. So they had asked and wrote a very nice letter requesting to change that section of road to be Knox Way. And they have a lot of history in the area, as you can see from their request. So they own 2 of the 3 properties on that little section of street. There's only 3 properties that front Division Street there. So we have made efforts to contact the 3rd property owner unsuccessfully. And Will actually, also talked to the realtor who represents them, and he said that he doesn't think that they would have an issue, but we've never gotten full confirmation. But we do have the opinion of the majority of property owners on that section of street to rename it. So the request would be, and our recommendation would be, to rename that short section of North Division Street to Knox Way. And then it's clearer for people trying to find those businesses where exactly that is.
Well, I have a question.
Sure.
Well, not even a question. I had an email, well, we all had an email from Mr. Wisner, and I kind of thought it was a great idea myself because it was a war memorial that, now this was my suggestion, to bring it to the Wycomico County Public School System and let them do some history and research in naming that street geared towards that memorial or our servicemen and women. Because it is a war memorial, I mean, I understand that Knox still own property there, but that memorial's been there for quite some time. And it holds some significance to the veterans all over the United States, all over the world. So I would like to see something other than it just being named after the Knoxes. And there's nothing against the Knoxes because I love them. They're good people. But I think that we should think a little further in this, than just because they own some property there. Because it's more than just owning properties. It's just that monument that has a lot of significance and has a lot of meaning.
Sure, so have a public naming competition in one sense.
And that's what I asked for, 500 or less words, in naming that, to see how that went, geared towards the war memorial.
Sure.
Let me ask you just a couple. The War Memorial's address, is that on Priscilla Street? Is it on Route 13? Is it on Division Street? Does it even have an address? Because I guess if you're trying to find it,
Yeah.
might it be good to have a name that is, and I'm not sure what you would name it at that point, but if the address to it is, 200, well, it can't be 200, it would be 0 if you're going up that way up Priscilla Street. Or if it's on Route 13, then I'm not sure it helps to worry about what the name of the street is. So my question would just be, what's the official address of the war memorial?
Okay, I can
And
check.
that would help me decide whether or not, in the end, I don't know how long it's gonna take Google or the rest of it to figure out that that's not North Division Street anymore.
Well, that has to
But
be
there are
submitted, I would
people,
imagine.
there are people who are sitting in the cul-de-sac at the other end of North Division Street on the other side of the bridge looking for Knox Insurance.
Right, yes.
They are. So if we could find out that, I'd appreciate that.
Certainly, no
Goo-
problem.
Google is telling me it's 628 North Salisbury Boulevard.
What is it?
628, 1628 North Salisbury
1628.
Boulevard.
I live on Decatur Avenue.
Yeah, yes, it's a
My
leave us
wife
home a
was
whole
against
different way now.
the closing of the street.
Okay.
Full
disclosure.
And also, I should say, full disclosure, Knox Insurance is my insurance agent. So.
Wow, what a way to have to recuse yourself.
But, and I did make the suggestion of Knock Way, to them if they were okay with it, and I guess they were. But I'll, I guess to some extent, I don't know if I should recuse myself or not. But, I mean,
Depends on what you want your
great
rates to
company,
be.
they've been there as long as I can remember. And, they're good people, and Mr. Knox is here, he is a veteran. So, the other thought that I had, that maybe if we were discussing names or something, we could name it Knox Veterans Way. I don't know if
That
that,
would be good. As long as it has something pertaining, I feel like pertaining towards the veterans. And like Mayor said, it could be Knox Veterans Way, but it has to be something that you could actually explain to the kids that Mr. Knox lives in that area. Because I don't want to be biased because of Knox. I've been there for a while, but I just want to be. It's history here, my thing is, our young people need to know the history. I mean, we have these monuments sitting here, but they don't know the history of them. So I think learning your history is important. So they need to know, because we're going to be gone, and who's going to teach them their history if we don't?
Could we do it like this? Could we rename some of the streets for Mary Pinkett, for Paul Martin, that sort of thing, Dr. Eschbach? Do the street in one and the thing above it in another?
Yeah.
Would that be a way to get both of them?
yeah,
Would that work?
Ceremonial naming.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sure.
That'd be fun.
Yeah. You wanna, well, you do it. I was just gonna say, if you wanna have them come back in a couple weeks with, what, if the street sign is Knox and the one above it is whichever Veterans Way you wanna do, if that doesn't, you wanna look at it like that?
we could.
The official renaming still to be Knock Way, and then we
The
would
one
do some
above
other
it.
ceremonial.
Or the other way, it doesn't matter to me, it's
Sure.
how many hundreds of feet,
Yeah, we could do Knox Veterans Way.
either way.
Or we could still, as you had suggested, do the naming contest for the ceremonial name. Officially change the street to Knock Way and then
Knock Way
have a
do
contest.
ceremonial, yeah.
500 words or less,
Yeah.
explaining why it should be.
I think we should target, if we do schools, I don't want to do the whole county. I would say East Salisbury and,
Well, when you want to do the whole county, because that's being partial, and you want to be,
Wow.
you want to do the whole, we
who's
want to
going
do
to manage,
Wacomico
who's going to
County.
manage the
I'm a little
essay
partial.
contest?
That's right. And above
We've
that.
done
we'll
that
put
before.
Mrs. Boat away.
Voter.
Okay,
You want to just take a look at a couple designs that way?
we could. Is that, wanna do
That's
that?
fine.
Okay, all right.
So would we proceed with the Knock Way and then have a sidetrack of the ceremonial renaming? Okay. Sounds good.
How far, does anybody know how far we are on that particular fundraising
Well,
thing for that? For it?
The mayor did
What
put
did the
something
mayor
on
say?
here. It's
see the
under
sign.
He went on a
construction.
little bit.
for the, wait a minute.
We
It
can
has
get you
been
an
on
update
last
when this
year.
comes
I
back.
thought it was donated with local.
I'm trying to go by with my phone and hit that thing, but it's usually exceeding the speed limit.
He said it'll be done soon.
We'll get you an exact thing when this comes back.
That's all he says.
Just also want to, again, recognize Mr. Knox here and Emily, who's anxiously waiting for tomorrow's results. She's a candidate for Ocean City Council.
Yeah.
All right.
Oh, love you,
Good
Emily.
luck.
Love you.
Okay.
All right, so we have consensus to move forward with that?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay,
All
very
right.
good. Thank
3 for
you.
3.
Yeah, thank you.
There you go. All right. Any other discussion?
I'm not sure, the FCC thing, you wanna talk about that afterwards, or
I would, that would probably
is
have
2
to,
weeks on another agenda too long to wait?
we could open it up for a closed session on Monday night because it's discussing litigation.
No.
It's, that's what I would suggest. Am I correct?
We're talking about the small cell thing, or?
With that and the other issues that were raised in an email.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, that clearly
That
would
would-
be a negotiation, contract
We could,
negotiation. or
what we'll do,
whatever.
we'll schedule a closed session for Monday night and we'll discuss that then. Ms. Jackson? Anything?
No.
Okay. I'm just gonna recommend everybody, tomorrow's election day, so please go vote. Do your research, but y'all know who you should vote for. Thank you. With that, our work session is adjourned.